Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that moves faster each day, where noise often drowns out wisdom and haste replaces reflection, there exists a quiet force that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. That force is strategic thinking, the silent power that shapes vision, guides decisions, and builds lasting success. Strategic thinking is not about reacting to every challenge or chasing every opportunity. It is about pausing, observing, and aligning actions with purpose. While the world applauds speed, strategy thrives in stillness. It is in the silence of deep thought that the strongest plans are born. Think of great leaders, innovators, and change makers throughout history. They were not simply busy, they were deliberate. They understood that every move is a step on a larger chessboard. Each decision carried weight, not just for the moment, but for the future. The beauty of strategic thinking lies in its subtlety. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't rush, it calculates. It doesn't seek to win today at the cost of tomorrow. It seeks balance, sustainability, and impact. When you embrace strategic thinking, you begin to see beyond the surface. Obstacles become opportunities in disguise. Failures turn into lessons. Resources are no longer scattered, but focused where they matter most. Strategic thinking is silent because it is internal before it is external. It requires clarity of vision, patience in planning, and courage in execution. The quiet strength of strategy transforms individuals, businesses, and nations. So I urge you today, do not underestimate the power of stillness, reflection, and foresight. In a noisy world, silence may appear weak, but within that silence lies the strength to design futures, build empires, and change lives. Remember this, tactics may win battles, but strategy wins wars, and the greatest strategies are often crafted in silence, powered by vision, and executed with precision. Silence creates clarity in a world that never stops talking. Silence is often underestimated. We live in an age of constant notifications, endless conversations, and an unrelenting stream of information. Everywhere we go, we are surrounded by noise. Noise from the outside world and noise from within. This noise distracts, confuses, and blurs the lines between what truly matters and what merely demands our attention. Yet, it is in silence that the power of strategic thinking begins. Silence is not emptiness, it is space. Space for the mind to breathe, for thoughts to align, and for clarity to emerge. When we step back into silence, we detach ourselves from the chaos and enter a zone of perspective. Think of silence as a lens, cleaning process. Just as dirty glasses distort our vision, constant mental clutter clouds our judgment. But in silence, the fog clears and the bigger picture becomes visible. Strategic thinking requires exactly this, seeing beyond the noise of the present moment into the patterns and possibilities that shape the future. History is filled with examples of leaders and innovators who understood the role of silence. Take Abraham Lincoln, for instance. He was known to pause, reflect, and even remain silent when others pressured him for quick responses. His silence was not weakness, it was strength. It was his way of creating mental space for wise, deliberate decision-making. Likewise, great strategists throughout time, whether military generals, business leaders, or spiritual guides, have turned to silence before making moves that shaped the world. Silence also creates clarity by forcing us to confront our own thoughts. In noise, it is easy to distract ourselves from doubts, fears, or uncertainties. But silence brings them to the surface, demanding attention. Instead of running from these inner voices, a strategic thinker listens, questions, and reframes them. By doing so, silence transforms uncertainty into direction and doubt into determination. In our personal lives, silence can be the difference between reaction and response. Imagine facing a heated situation, an argument at work, a disagreement at home, or a critical decision in business. In noise, we tend to react impulsively, often worsening the situation. But when we pause in silence, even for a few moments, clarity emerges. We begin to see not just what we feel, but what the situation demands. That clarity allows us to respond wisely, not just quickly. The science of the brain also confirms this truth. Studies show that silence reduces stress, enhances creativity, and improves problem solving. When we quiet our surroundings, our brain's default mode network activates, allowing connections between ideas that are otherwise missed. This is why many great ideas are born in quiet walks, early mornings, or late nights of solitude. Silence nurtures the conditions where creativity and strategy thrive. Moreover, silence is not only external, but also internal. One may sit in a quiet room, yet still be overwhelmed by mental chatter. True clarity comes when we discipline the mind to be still. Practices like mindfulness, meditation, or even journaling can help in silencing the inner storm. This internal silence is where the deepest insights are found, the insights that form the foundation of strategic decisions. As leaders of our own lives, we must learn to create silence intentionally. That may mean disconnecting from devices, scheduling time for reflection, or simply pausing before reacting. It may feel uncomfortable at first because silence confronts us with truths we often avoid. But within that discomfort lies clarity, and within clarity lies power. In the end, silence is not passive, it is powerful. It does not signal emptiness but potential. It is the canvas on which strategy is drawn, the soil from which clarity grows. When we embrace silence, we do not lose time. We gain wisdom, and in a world that values speed, wisdom is the ultimate advantage. So remember this: before every great strategy, there is silence. And in that silence lies the clarity that shapes the future. Vision over reaction. One of the greatest differences between ordinary thinking and strategic thinking is this: ordinary thinking reacts, while strategic thinking envisions. To react is human. It is an instinct. When something happens, our natural tendency is to respond immediately, often based on emotion or urgency. But reacting alone rarely leads to progress. It often traps us in cycles of short-term fixes. Vision, on the other hand, is what elevates us beyond survival into creation, beyond solving problems into shaping futures. Vision is the compass of a strategist. It is the force that allows us to look beyond the noise of today and align our choices with the possibilities of tomorrow. A reaction is about the present moment. It says, "What do I need to do right now?" But vision is about the bigger picture. It asks, "Where do I want to be in 5 years, 10 years, or even a lifetime?" The power of vision lies in anticipation. While others scramble to adjust to events as they unfold, strategic thinkers prepare before the storm comes. They study patterns, anticipate outcomes, and align their actions with a larger purpose. Think of the game of chess. A novice reacts to every move the opponent makes, scrambling to protect pieces as danger arises. But a master does not merely react, he envisions. He looks ahead 10 moves, sometimes 20. He sees the shape of the game before it happens. That is the essence of strategic thinking, vision over reaction. History offers countless examples of visionaries who exemplified this principle. Consider Martin Luther King Jr. He lived in a time of immense tension and conflict, a time where reacting to injustice with anger or violence would have been easy. But instead, he held on to a vision of equality, justice, and freedom that transcended his time. That vision guided his strategies, his speeches, and his leadership. It was not reaction that changed history, it was vision. In business, too, vision separates the enduring companies from the fleeting ones. Think of Steve Jobs. He did not just react to market trends, he envisioned what people would need before they even knew it themselves. While competitors fought over minor improvements, Jobs envisioned a future where technology was elegant, simple, and personal. That vision transformed Apple into one of the most innovative companies in the world. Even in our personal lives, vision is what gives direction. Without it, we drift from one problem to the next, constantly reacting to circumstances. Bills, deadlines, conflicts, and pressures dictate our choices. But when we have vision, our path becomes clearer. Decisions stop being random reactions and start becoming steps toward a purpose. Of course, vision does not mean ignoring the present. Life demands immediate responses at times, but a strategist knows how to balance the two. They respond to the present without losing sight of the future. They understand that every small decision is a brick in the foundation of their vision. The challenge, however, is that vision requires patience, discipline, and courage. It is easier to react than to envision. Reaction is immediate, vision is deliberate. Reaction feels urgent, vision feels distant. Reaction satisfies the moment, vision builds a legacy. This is why many people struggle to live strategically. They are trapped in the urgency of reaction and never rise into the silence of vision. So how do we cultivate vision over reaction? First, we must slow down. A strategist does not allow urgency to blind wisdom. Second, we must ask bigger questions. What is my ultimate goal? What kind of life do I want to create? What impact do I want to leave? These questions expand our view beyond the present problem into the future possibility. Finally, we must align our actions with that vision so that every response becomes intentional and every choice becomes strategic. In the end, reaction may win moments, but vision wins generations. A life of reaction is a life of survival. A life of vision is a life of creation, transformation, and legacy. And that is why strategic thinkers do not merely react to life, they shape it. So remember, don't just react to the moment, envision the future, and let that vision guide your steps. Turning obstacles into opportunities, life, in its very nature, is filled with challenges. No path worth walking is without obstacles. Yet, the difference between those who stumble and those who succeed often lies in perspective. Strategic thinking teaches us that obstacles are not dead ends. They are hidden doors to opportunity. While most people see barriers as reasons to stop, the strategist sees them as signals to adapt, innovate, and grow. Think about it. Every obstacle carries within it the seed of possibility, but whether we notice that seed depends on our mindset. A reactive thinker complains, resists, or gives up when confronted with difficulty, but a strategic thinker asks, "What can this situation teach me? How can this problem become a stepping stone toward my vision?" That simple shift turns struggles into solutions. Consider the story of Thomas Edison. When asked about his thousands of failed attempts at creating the light bulb, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10 zeros, zero ways that won't work." Each obstacle was not an endpoint, but an opportunity to learn, refine, and move closer to success. His strategic mindset transformed failures into feedback, and feedback into breakthrough. In business, the same principle applies. Companies that endure are not those that never face setbacks, but those that see opportunity in crisis. Take the example of Netflix. In its early days, Netflix was nearly crushed by competition from giants like Blockbuster. But instead of being defeated by the obstacle, they saw an opportunity in changing technology. They transitioned from DVD rentals to streaming, an obstacle for some, but a golden opportunity for them. Today, Netflix is a household name, while Blockbuster has faded into history. Obstacles can also transform personal growth. Think about times in your own life when difficulties forced you to grow in ways you never would have otherwise. Perhaps a job loss taught you resilience. Perhaps a rejection led you to discover a new path better suited to your talents. Perhaps failure forced you to acquire skills that later became your strengths. Seen through the lens of strategy, obstacles are not detours from the path. They are part of the path itself. Why is this so powerful? Because obstacles test vision. If your vision is weak, obstacles will break it. But if your vision is strong, obstacles will sharpen it. They will force you to think differently, to find new angles, and to innovate. This is how strategic thinkers rise. They do not run from difficulty, they rise through it. The truth is, every great achievement in history was born out of obstacles. Airplanes were created because people dreamed of overcoming gravity. Vaccines were developed because disease threatened humanity. Social reforms arose because injustice stood in the way of equality. What looked like immovable walls became the very reason breakthroughs were made. Yet, turning obstacles into opportunities is not automatic. It requires intentional thinking. First, it requires reframing. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What now?" Second, it requires creativity, looking at the problem not as a barrier, but as raw material for innovation. Third, it requires persistence, recognizing that many opportunities only reveal themselves after repeated effort. This is why strategic thinking is so powerful. It trains the mind to stop seeing obstacles as enemies and start seeing them as allies. Every obstacle is a disguised teacher, pushing us toward greater strength, greater clarity, and greater resilience. In the end, obstacles are not signals to quit. They are invitations to grow, and when embraced with strategy, they become opportunities that shape destiny. So remember this: obstacles are not the end of your story. They are the chapters that give it meaning. In every challenge lies an opportunity, waiting for the strategist to uncover it. Balance between short, term, and long term wins. One of the greatest challenges in life and leadership is finding balance between immediate results and lasting success. Too often, people chase short-term victories at the expense of long-term progress. Others, in their pursuit of future goals, neglect the small daily actions that make those goals possible. Strategic thinking, however, is about harmonizing the two, knowing when to seize quick wins and when to stay committed to a bigger vision. The truth is, both short-term and long-term thinking have their place. Short-term wins provide energy, momentum, and confidence. They are the milestones that keep us motivated and moving forward. Long-term wins, on the other hand, provide purpose, direction, and legacy. They are the destination, the reason behind the journey. A strategic thinker knows that success is not an either or choice. It is the art of balancing both. Consider the difference between tactics and strategy. Tactics are the actions that deliver short-term results. Strategy is the plan that delivers long-term impact. A military general may win a battle with good tactics, but without strategy, the war will be lost. Similarly, in business, a company might score a quick profit through a flashy campaign, but without a long-term vision, it risks fading into irrelevance. Strategic thinking ensures that today's tactics align with tomorrow's vision. We see this balance in the stories of great organizations. Take Amazon, for example. In its early years, the company focused on customer satisfaction, fast delivery, reliable service, and convenience. Those short-term wins built trust and loyalty. But Jeff Bezos always had a long-term vision to make Amazon the world's most customer-centric company and an essential part of daily life. Every short-term victory was aligned with this greater goal. Today, Amazon's long-term strategy is clear in how it has transformed not just shopping, but technology, logistics, and even cloud computing. On a personal level, the same principle applies. Imagine a student who only studies to pass the next exam without thinking about the skills they're building for their career. They may win in the short term, but in the long run, they lack depth and preparation. On the other hand, someone who only dreams of a distant future without acting today will never progress. Balance means preparing for the future while engaging fully in the present. But achieving this balance is not easy. The short term is loud and urgent. It demands attention now. Bills must be paid, deadlines must be met, fires must be put out. The long term, in contrast, is quiet and distant. It doesn't shout for attention, but it shapes everything. A strategic thinker must learn to listen to both voices. They ask, does this short-term decision move me closer to my long-term vision, and does my long term vision guide how I act today. One practical way to cultivate this balance is to break down big visions into smaller, achievable steps. Each small win is not just a moment of success, but a building block toward the larger goal. This creates alignment, where short-term actions reinforce long-term outcomes. Without this alignment, we risk either burning out on endless tasks or drifting aimlessly toward distant dreams. There is also a moral here about patience. Many people give up too soon because they crave instant results. Strategic thinking teaches us to play the long game. The most valuable things in life, trust, mastery, relationships, impact are not built overnight. They require years of consistent effort. At the same time, celebrating small wins keeps us energized during the long journey. Ultimately, balance between short-term and long-term wins is about wisdom. It is knowing that not every battle must be fought, but every battle fought must serve the greater war. It is understanding that immediate gratification feels good, but long-term fulfillment feels better. And it is realizing that today's actions are tomorrow's outcomes. So remember this: success is not built in a day, but it is built daily. The strategist balances the quick wins of today with the lasting victories of tomorrow, and in doing so, they create a life of both momentum and meaning. Strategy as a silent force of transformation. When people think of power, they often imagine something loud, visible, and dramatic. Voices commanding attention, actions demanding recognition, and victories celebrated with noise. Yet some of the greatest power in the world is quiet, almost invisible. This is the power of strategy. It does not announce itself with fanfare, nor does it seek immediate recognition. Instead, it works silently, guiding decisions, shaping behavior, and creating change that is often only recognized after the results appear. Strategy is the silent force of transformation. Why silent? Because true strategy begins within. It starts in the stillness of thought, in careful observation, and in deliberate planning. Unlike reaction, which bursts forth in the heat of the moment, strategy works in the shadows of preparation. A strategist studies the terrain, understands the players, anticipates challenges, and maps out possibilities long before others even notice the need for change. It is quiet, yes, but that quiet is filled with intention and foresight. Think of how rivers carve valleys. They don't roar their way through the earth in a single day. They flow quietly, persistently, wearing down rock, shaping landscapes, and transforming regions over centuries. Strategy works in the same way. Its effects may not be immediate, but over time, its silent force reshapes futures, organizations, and even societies. History shows us countless examples. Mahatma Gandhi, for instance, did not lead India's independence movement through loud displays of force. His strategy was nonviolent resistance, a quiet yet powerful approach that transformed not just a nation, but the world's understanding of protest and justice. The silence of his strategy was more powerful than the noise of armies. In business, we see the same truth. Consider how companies like Google or Microsoft became global forces. Their rise was not about one loud, explosive action, but about years of quiet strategic moves, investing in research, acquiring smaller firms, building infrastructure, and steadily expanding their influence. While others focused on short-term victories, their strategies silently reshaped entire industries. Even in personal lives, strategy works as a silent transformer. Habits, for example, are strategies in disguise. Waking up early, reading daily, exercising regularly. These actions may seem small and silent, but over time, they transform a person's health, mindset, and destiny. The world may not notice these silent strategies in the beginning, but the transformation becomes undeniable with time. The silent power of strategy also lies in its ability to multiply impact. One wise decision, made quietly, can influence generations. A parent who chooses to invest in their child's education creates a ripple effect that changes that child's life, their family's future, and perhaps even society at large. Strategy doesn't shout, but its echo can last for decades. But why do people often underestimate this silent power? Because noise is attractive. Immediate results are exciting. We live in a culture that celebrates speed, visibility, and instant gratification. Yet the deepest transformations are almost never instant. They are the result of quiet persistence, thoughtful planning, and unseen. Strategic thinkers know that silence is not weakness, it is preparation. To embrace strategy as a silent force of transformation, we must cultivate patience and foresight. We must learn to value depth over display, impact over impression. This requires humility to work without constant applause, and confidence to believe that results will speak louder than words. It also requires consistency, because silent strategies only transform when practiced over time. In the end, strategy's silence is what makes it powerful. It does not waste energy on show. It channels energy into results. It does not fight every battle loudly. It chooses battles wisely and wins wars quietly. It does not seek to impress the present. It seeks to shape the future. So remember this: the greatest transformations in life often happen quietly. Strategy does not need to shout, because its results will speak for themselves. The true power of strategic thinking is its silence, steady, intentional, and unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have journeyed through the silent power of strategic thinking, one truth stands above all. True strength does not always roar, it often whispers. It is not found in endless reaction, but in clarity, vision, balance, resilience, and quiet transformation. We began by exploring how silence creates clarity, teaching us that stillness is not emptiness, but a fertile ground where wisdom takes root. We then discovered the importance of vision over reaction, where a strategist sees beyond the noise of today to shape the possibilities of tomorrow. From there, we learned how to turn obstacles into opportunities, understanding that every challenge is a disguised teacher, every setback a hidden seed of growth. But strategy is not only about overcoming difficulties, it is also about harmony. We saw the necessity of finding balance between short, term, and long-term wins, celebrating the small victories while keeping our eyes fixed on the larger purpose. And finally, we recognized that strategy itself is a silent force of transformation, one that works quietly, persistently, and invisibly, yet leaves behind undeniable results that shape individuals, organizations, and nations. What does this mean for us? It means that the world may reward speed, noise, and urgency, but true success belongs to those who embrace stillness, foresight, and deliberate action. Strategic thinking is not just for generals, entrepreneurs, or leaders. It is for every one of us. Whether in our careers, our relationships, or our personal growth, we are all strategists designing the future, one decision at a time. So as you step forward into your own journey, remember this: tactics may win battles, but strategy wins wars. Do not underestimate the quiet moments of reflection, the silent hours of planning, the deliberate steps toward your vision, for it is in that silence that greatness is forged. Let us choose to think beyond reaction, to embrace vision, to welcome obstacles, to balance our wins, and to trust in the silent force of strategy. Because in the end, the loudest results often come from the quietest power, the power of strategic thinking. Thank you.